So there is my little chart of all my colours. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're just going to put some bands of colour across our little book that will become your guide. So I'll pop those over there. Now I'm going to take this number 5 brush. Okay, now the way we get paint from the pan onto the paper is to wet the brush. Okay, so you've got a fairly wet brush, right? Just take the surplus off by touching the brush on the edge of the jar, and then you activate the paint by rubbing it gently, and see the action I'm using. I'm not scrubbing it, I'm gradually activating it and keeping the bristles all together. I also sort of twist my brush to make sure all the bristles are tidied up. I then go to my first section and I'm just going to put a band of colour there, just like that. It's about 1 inch long. I'm then going back to my pot of water, agitating my brush slightly but not much, take the excess off on the side of the jar and then pull some more colour out. I do that again and pull some colour out. So you can see that that colour is getting paler and paler, okay? Because the more water you add to your paint, in fact let's call it pigment, it's the colour, the more dilute it becomes. So let's go on to another one. Let's rinse the brush off completely. Go to the pot of water, take the excess off so it's not dripping. Go to the next colour. You'll be able to see this one a bit better. And paint a band of colour. Go back to the water, agitate it slightly, take the excess off so it's not dripping, then go back to that band of colour and pull the colour across from there. Back again to the water, agitate it, take the excess off and pull the colour out. So that is one of the first things learning about your paints. It's like anything else. If you drink gin and tonic, for example, the more tonic you put in, the weaker the gin gets. Not how I tend to use it, but that's another matter. So it's like anything, you dilute stuff, okay? So that is a good learning for you. So let us now go to the next one. You've got the idea of the process now. And you see how the paint runs across because there is water. So that is why it moves. Let's go to alizarin and I'll show you something else. I need a bit more pigment to show it up. Just take a bit more on my brush. In, take the excess off and leave a gap. Take the excess off and leave a gap. Now it's not until you join those together that you will see the colour will move. Where the paper is dry, the paint won't travel. Okay? So that is something else that's useful to know. If you leave a gap between two colours, then you're going to have a separation. But if you join them together, then you will in fact get the movement between the two. So I will complete that chart. There's no need for me to do the rest of it. I'm sure you've got the idea of that. So that's how you activate your paints. Your paints are in fact made up of the pigment, gum arabic and water. It's the gum arabic that holds them together. A lot of people ask me what's the difference between tube and pans. These are called pans. Not a lot really, except that the tube is in the liquid form. If you squirt a bit out of your tube onto your palette and leave it, it will eventually dry up and harden off. That is because the water has evaporated and you are left with the pigment and the gum arabic. And all you have to do with that blob of dried tube paint is activate it with some water, just like you are in your pan, and you can see, look how the colour is in the tip of the brush. Might as well do another one. Let's have a bit more water, a bit more pigment. You can see the water, you can see that's drying off because the gloss is going off it. So I will continue with those lines to complete the rest of my palette. There's 12 colours in the box. I've only left 11 bars because the white one, I'm not going to show you that one. So that's a bit more understanding of how your paints work and how to get them from that dry state into a semi-liquid state onto your brush and onto the paper.